Welcome, Star Wars fans. Hey, it's just 72 days until Christmas 2020, and the elves have been busy here at the North Pole. We're working on getting toys ready for kids, and of course, we're doing virtual visits this year. No going to homes or stores. Well, we'll be to some of the stores and be out in public, but it'll be behind plexiglass at a safe distance, all of that. So anyhow, we're getting ready to do our virtual visits, and you'll see the Jingle Ring information here if you would like to schedule a live visit with Santa. So today, we're going to discuss some spoilers. Hello, Park Outdoors. Welcome. Hey, this morning, Adam at Fanjecture shared some spoilers that they got from John Campea last night. So John Campea tweeted, and then people lost their minds. So John is saying, hey, these aren't spoilers. He didn't give away any plot details. Hello, Gray. So John is saying, no spoilers. I didn't give away any plot details. I just told some information. And it's kind of clever what he did. And we'll talk about this, but I do want to give a spoiler warning. And hello, Mark. Welcome. So I do want to give the spoiler warning. I want to make sure that everybody knows, hey, if you don't want to know anything, if you are absolute Callisto, hello, Dale, hello. We're getting the regulars in here. Thanks for joining, everybody. So I do want to put a spoiler warning because John did get a lot of backlash from sharing these, and he since took down that tweet. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to go through them, and then we'll see what you all think. So here we go. No further warnings given. Here we're going to jump into them and discuss. So here they are. This is from John Campea's tweet that Adam at Fanjecture shared with us. Sir Nerd-a-Lot, hello. I want to know everything. So there are several points in here. The first one, Cara Dune is about to become some people's favorite character. Now, we talked about yesterday that new poster. That new poster is gorgeous. Though I love all of them, and there are some clues in there as far as maybe having Sabine Wren in there or something like that. So that's kind of fun. But they're saying Cara Dune is about to become some people's favorite character. In what way? How might she become somebody's favorite character? This John doesn't give away. Freeman, hello. Welcome again. Thanks for joining again today. So how might she become some people's favorite character? Is she going to step up the combat? Is she going to be actively involved with the missions? It does look like her character is prominent in a lot of the advertising in the trailer, the promo trailer that we got. And by the way, just after yesterday's stream, there was a new cut of the season 2 trailer, just for a TV spot, and there's not a lot new in there. There are a few frames extra. If you haven't seen that, maybe we'll talk about it here in a little bit. But I think by this point, most people have seen that, and we did get a little bit of a different cut. I don't think that qualifies as our second trailer because it's primarily the same information. And I am speculating that the very first scene where we see the speeder bike going down in the desert along that mountainside, that might be Pisana. I'm not sure. It could be. It's most likely Tatooine. I put a probably 95% chance that it's Tatooine, but I throw out there it could be Pisana. The geography there looks like it's possible. So yeah, Dale, I love Gina anyway, and yeah, me too. So Gina is a great character in the series, and Cara Dune is absolutely welcome in my book to become even more featured, which kind of flies in the face a little bit from what people were saying about maybe Cara being in trouble or not Cara, but Gina being in trouble for some of her Twitter stuff. Twitter stuff. Twitter stuff. I don't think that's the case at all. I think she's going to be featured, and social media is what it is. So that's the first one. The second point that John had on here was season is heavy with Moff Gideon. Now, I was entertained last night. I was listening to Nerd Theory. That's the show that they're doing Monday night with Josh with the Gen of Nerds and Star Wars Theory. They've taken over that Monday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern time slot where they were doing the Rule of Two, but now they've got this new show, Nerd Theory is what they're currently calling it. But in the chat there, a lot of people say Moth, like M-O-T-H, Moth Gideon, and it was cracking me up. So I made a joke in the comments last night that it was going to be the Tick's new side assistant, that he was going to be with the Tick, Moth Gideon, as opposed to Moff Gideon. So Moth is, of course, a ranking. So in Star Wars, so Moff Gideon is going to be heavy in season 2, and then of course the third one here is blink and you'll miss Ahsoka Tano. She's in one episode, and we know that we think that's going to be episode number 5. That's the one that Dave Filoni is directing. That's on the schedule, and that should be right after Thanksgiving, November 27th, something like that. So look for that episode number 5, to be the one where we see Ahsoka Tano, one episode. I think that's likely true. And the next one, this was John saying John was wrong. Sasha Banks is not Sabine, and I don't think she is Sabine. I think there's possibility that she is, but most likely she's not. And I keep throwing out there that I think she's a night owl, one of the assistants that goes with Sabine, and that you're going to see Sabine and the Night Owls in one of these episodes that comes from the Clone Wars season 7. They're the cloaked Mandalorian figures that go with Sabine Wren. So I think that might be the case. And then the next one, he has a spelling mistake here. So Grief Karga's history comes into play. And I think that's very likely. Grief Karga, we love his character, and there's some more history there. So then the last thing that he put in here is that he said one thing above is not true. So what could the one thing be that's not true? And that's the game we get to play today. What is the one thing from this tweet that John Campea put out that you think is not true? So I think all of these are plausible, but which one is not true? Are we going to get, is Cara Dune not going to be featured more? People aren't going to fall in with her being one of their favorite characters. Maybe that's not true because we know that the child and, of course, the Mandalorian himself, Din Djarin, are people's favorite characters, and we already had one other favorite character die in season 1. So maybe that's not true. So I'm curious to see what you all think. So Nuggerlot, just get your comment in here. I'm good with that. Excited to see Ahsoka, but didn't want her to overshadow characters we've grown to love. I agree. This is supposed to be like her introduction for a spinoff. It's a good way to do it. Back in the day, they used to introduce characters, and they still do it in comic books all the time, where they'll have a crossover event. And you see it, DC has done it a lot on the Warner Brothers or the CW shows that they have, where they'll have crossover events, and then that gets you to go watch the other series. So that could be the case. I do think it's just going to be one episode. So the season is heavy with Moff Gideon. Now, this one I think is very likely true because we've already seen some comments that the actor says he broke several darksabers in filming through some of the combat. And we know that Moff Gideon is hot on the trail of getting the child. And he wants that child. And that's one of his highest priority things. And we see him at the very end of season 1 with the Darksaber, cutting himself out of the TIE fighter. And he is now going to be in pursuit of Din Djarin and the child. That's one of his top priorities. So I would think that the second thing here is most likely true. I'm not sure. Third, blink and you miss Ahsoka. I think that's true. I think she's only going to be in the one. The fourth one, Sasha Banks is not Sabine. So Freeman says, Sasha Point, it isn't true. This is good timing because I just got to this. So Sasha Point isn't true. She is Sabine. Now, I'm not sure. I think that she's not Sabine. And I've seen arguments where people say that her racial characteristics don't match closely enough to Sabine's, even though Sabine is aging, that she looks different enough that she would not be Sabine and somebody else should be Sabine, but we don't know who that would be. Now it raises a point. Then who is Sabine? If Sasha Banks is not Sabine and she's already been confirmed that she's in the season, if Sasha's not Sabine, then who is Sabine? That's my theory is that she's a night owl, but I still don't have an answer then for who Sabine is. And but we don't have confirmation that Sabine herself is in this season. People are speculating that Sasha Banks is Sabine just because of her hair color, her personality and stuff. And she's a fighter and all of that, similar to Cara Dune, right? She's going to be a fighter. So it would fit that she could be Sabine, but what if she's not, right? What if she's not? So, and we don't know, we don't have confirmation that Sabine is even in it. So I'm still with the thought that she's not Sabine. So I tend to think that one is correct. Then the last one is Grief Karga's history comes into play. And we've seen those posters again, and that picture of Grief Karga is just fantastic. And we've seen some footage of him in the trailer that I think he's going to be involved, and I think his history should come into play. Let's see. Callisto, I think it's the Ahsoka one. I think she'll be in a few or zero. Ooh, a few or zero. Now there's in that trailer, the new cut there, and I think yesterday we had Mark point out that there's a scene inside the ice cave where we see Mando fire his weapon. If you slow it down and watch that, then some people have also seen that it appears that there's a Force user in that ice cave. So are they fighting on the same side? Is that Ahsoka in there? I think it's possible we could get her in more than one episode. I think we'll see her introduced in episode 5. But might she continue on into 6, 7, and 8, or some portion thereof, so that she's not in just one episode? Good question. That's a very possible. So I'll leave that. Sir Nerd a lot. I feel like Sasha's character is connected to the Force, but that's just from the trailer. Could be because the trailer does talk about this race of like magicians, right? Force users, and just as it goes by her, and then she disappears like magic. So she might be Force sensitive, and she might not be a Mandalorian, a Night Owl, or Sabine. So who knows? Sasha, nobody knows who Sasha Banks's character is. And again, the speculation is that Sabine, but nobody's confirmed that it is Sabine. We know Sasha's in it, but not necessarily Sabine. Hey, Trinity, welcome. Oh, welcome. Thanks for stopping in. Good to see you. Mark, I think Sasha is Sabine. None of the other points sound like they wouldn't be true. This is Campea's way of dropping a scoop without actually saying it and falling out of favor with Disney. That might be very true. Yeah, the question is, which one of these is not true? So I tend to agree with John that it's not, spoiler. And so maybe I did a little clickbaity here saying that a spoiler warning. But for people who don't want to know anything, and that one of these is not true, that leaves the others to be true, then this could be spoilery, right? Like that there's going to be a lot of Moff Gideon, or that Ahsoka's only going to be in one episode, whatever the case might be. So I'm just curious what you all think. You guys have given some good feedback here. I don't know for sure. I tend to lean, and I put in the Discord. My guess is that the season heavy with Moff Gideon might not be true. He might be here and there, but it might not be true. And that's just a wild guess on my part. As I talk about it, we go through it together. You guys can change my mind. You can change my mind. Could be that Sasha Banks is not Sabine. Maybe she is Sabine. It would make sense. But is Sasha going to carry on into another series? Is the role going to continue? If they introduce Sabine Wren in The Mandalorian, then people are going to want more Sabine, as they do want more Ahsoka, but on not in The Mandalorian itself, in other series. So this could be a way, but I don't know that we have seen that Sasha has been signed to a contract for other things. So I think we do have rumors that Rosario Dawson has been signed to a contract with Disney for and Lucasfilm for a series, but I haven't heard the same for Sasha Banks. Perhaps it's true. Perhaps. So I thought this would be fun to talk about today. We can go through it and speculate a little bit and get ahead of Josh a little bit at a den. Drew's Reviews. Hello. Good day to you too, Drew. Thanks for joining. So here they are. And Drew, you just joined us. The question on the table is, which one of these is not true? Freeman, my bet is we also get an Ezra cameo. So that's a good point, Freeman. We there's lots of things. We talked about it yesterday too. There's lots of smoke, right? Where there's smoke, there's fire. There's lots of smoke signals out there that Ezra is being filmed. But we don't know in what series he's being filmed. If he makes an appearance in season 2, that's already been filmed. That's not being filmed. So if Ezra is going to show up, we've got most of the cast from Rebels rumored. There's only a couple that we don't see rumored, and I've seen some speculation about is Thrawn cast. Do they have an actor who has been selected to be Thrawn? But other than that, if you've got Sabine and Ahsoka and of course Ezra, that's the core of Rebels, and it could certainly be carried on, and on all of these actors may be introduced as a spinoff, and we see the characters from Rebels show up in episode 5, maybe 6, 7, something like that. And maybe they are in there. I don't know. So there you go. Let's see any other thoughts. You guys have any other thoughts about who or which one of these items is not true from John? And I'm sure John's going to take some heat on it on his show coming up here in about 45 minutes. And he'll discuss it there. Oh, excuse me. And of course, the other news, as you guys are here, the other news is about Disney shifting its focus to the streaming service, Disney Plus, and making that the core. And I think they did a good job. Fan Jecture, there you are. Oh, I think Cara Dune is not true. Maybe. There you go. Thanks for joining, Adam. This is credit to you for giving us this topic to talk about today. So it might not be true. Maybe she's not going to be people's favorite character. As I mentioned, that we've got already Din Djarin and the Child are people's favorite. And if she's going to become some people's favorite character, it means that she'd be up there competing with them in popularity. So, I was just quick with the screenshot. Good job, Adam. So yeah, that was great, and I'm sure other folks will be talking about it. And I still tend to think that uh, Sasha is not Sabine. I think if I'm going to change my mind on any, I would go back to say that maybe Sasha is Sabine. So maybe that's the thinnest one, and I think you guys may have me on the fence there to pull the trigger on that. I'm not sold, but I'm certainly waffling on it. I think that there's a good argument to be made. Good. So yeah, we were talking about, and if you guys missed Adam's Twitch show from last night, I went and watched it this morning. I did a fantastic job of breaking down the video there with Bob Chapek and Disney's announcement. And of course, we've got the earnings statement coming up on the 10th of December. So that's still 2 months out, just under 60 days out, and we'll get some more information. My suspicion is that the Mulan experiment, while it came up short of their high hopes, that it gave them a great data point to move forward. So my guess is that they said, okay, we made some money with Mulan, not as much as we thought. We did do well enough to move in this direction. And we saw that they quickly made the decision to put Mulan for sale with digital rights shortly thereafter. And that was, I think, a change of plans where they said, okay, we've plumbed this pump as far as we can. We're going to plumb this well as far as we can. We're going to throw this over into digital sales, get some more momentum there from people who want to own that digital copy. With everything else going on, they're probably still going to fall shy. But my guess is they're going to recoup, and they're going to at least break even with Mulan. I don't think Disney's going to lose money with Mulan. And if you keep in mind, if they track that their trajectory of new subscribers was X, right? So every month they get around X is new amount, X representing some number, right? So if they're getting some number of new subscribers every month, they add Mulan on that premium VOD, and it becomes X plus some other number, Y, right? So X plus Y, we get a little algebra lesson this morning. So you get X plus Y, then they can determine, approximately this number of people joined as a function of wanting to purchase that premium VOD. Following that, then they can then follow the trajectory of loss rate, as well as still new subscribers coming on, and see $7 a month times however many months that once people join, they stay. If Mulan became a vehicle for getting new subscribers, then that could turn into part of the profit that is attributed to adding Mulan to the platform. So they've got the initial grab of the $30 that they got from me and from Adam and folks like us. And then they've got the $7 a month that continues on. And if they keep paying for that, then they can take, okay, the cost for a new subscriber, right? The cost of acquisition, as they would call it, is a certain number, and that is then attributable to having Mulan in the platform. And then they add on, of course, the digital sales that they just turned over. So you've got all of that. So I think what that did is confirm for them to pull the trigger on the announcement they made yesterday, and that by December 10th, they're going to have that whole thing wrapped up, and they're going to know exactly what that number attributable to Mulan is. They'll be able to share that. I don't know that they'll get into that kind of specifics. They'll certainly be challenged on it, but we'll see. We've talked about this before too. I think that the future of Star Wars is in the long form storytelling. The Disney Plus is a great vehicle for the long form storytelling, like we have in The Mandalorian season 1 and 2, that we're going to get with Obi-Wan series, that we're going to get with some of these other rumored series that we talked about yesterday. And we'll get just a focus going that direction. And we're seeing that they're maybe changing the direction of Marvel Studios. They're certainly going to change the direction of Disney Studios and all the content that's being released going that way. And with Disney deciding to move their own feature film in December over to the streaming platform is also telling. So let me just caught up. I see some things coming in. Freeman. My money is Lars represents his role as Thrawn in any live action. That would be fantastic. Now he does the voice work, and he does have a physical resemblance, and they tend to do that in animation, whether you have a voice actor. As the animators are looking at the character that does that, they influence the animated character to somewhat reflect the attributes of the voice actor. So yeah, Drew's reviews. Here's I don't it won't happen, but I'd love to see Crispin Glover as Thrawn. But then again, I'd love to see. Yeah, I tend to agree more with Freeman on this. I think more likely Lars would, but sure, give me anybody as Thrawn, and I'll be happy. Let's see. Callisto, Mark, the sentence too abstract to be true or not true. That's a lot of these things that John tweeted are kind of ambiguous, right? Drew, what do you say here? On a scene where Mando stops mid-chase because he sees Santa on a rooftop going into a chimney, they look at each other. This is the way. Well, there are some old comics where Santa is in the Star Wars universe. It does show up. He's also in the Marvel universe, DC universe. They love to use Santa around for marketing. It's great. And of course, it's not in canon, but it's a lot of fun. And Santa just ordered a Lego set, about 750 pieces of flying in the sleigh. And I'll have that coming soon and be able to put that together and have that here. So that's funny. Drew, I think someone had to pull the trigger on all streaming. The early bird gets the worm. Not only that, Drew, but Disney put this platform in place just at the right time. And they had it positioned well. For whatever reason, just all of the stars lined up for them to make it an absolutely perfect timing. I think they were just trying to get in and dip their feet in and get familiar with it. But all of a sudden, it became the platform of choice. And where we've seen like HBO Max and Peacock kind of misfire on their launches, Disney was in the right place at the right time and had the right direction. And now they're just able to say, okay, the experiment is over. We're all in. And I love where Chapek said, we're not going to determine the delivery method ahead of the content anymore. We're going to determine the delivery method as it goes. And I would expect, and I think, Adam, you've talked about this quite a bit as well, that we're going to see budgets contract significantly on these large ticket movies. And rather than seeing $250 or $300 million budgets on some of these very large movies, we're going to see that contracted. Maybe as your 300s might be down to 200, your 250s might be down to 2. You're going to see those budgets contract significantly. And more people are going to start using the volume type technology and doing things on set rather than doing things on site. And we're not going to see people travel around for different locations to be on location. The location will be in studio. And so I think that we're going to see those budgets constrict. And then what Chapek is saying is, okay, we created this content for $150 million. We think based on marketing and climate and whatever's going on in the world, that this would be a perfect fit for theatrical release. Then they'll release it to theatrical. Or they'll say, okay, we spent $150 million on this, and now we think that due to the pandemic or any number of other reasons that the best platform for this will be on the streaming service, and we'll schedule it and we'll push it that direction. And I think we're going to see that. Now, same day and date is still an issue with some of the theaters and these contracts they have. And I don't know that we're going to see as much same day and date. I know that Adam, you said that, and I think Josh said that as well. I'm not convinced that it's going to be same day and date, but we're going to see that window constrict, I think, significantly. And that's where that's going to go. Will, my fear is that everything becomes too saturated. I understand your fear, Will, but I don't think we're close yet. I really don't. And people have been talking about how Disney Plus doesn't have enough new content. I'll tell you that my family purchased the Peacock service. We went into the full $10 a month for the no commercial and unlock everything. And that Peacock service actually has a lot of great content on it. But even that isn't rich with a lot of new content. A lot of it is vault kind of stuff. And there's good things. And the same is true with HBO Max. Right? HBO does have a lot of great new content, but that vault isn't yet fully open, and it's coming along. HBO Max is a great service, but they've got to get the deal worked out with Roku. That's still holding them back. So I'm not so sure. Drew, so true. Many Disney cartoons character looks the same as the voice actor. Exactly. And that's not true only for Disney cartoons, but other animated works. They tend to have some physical characteristics. Absolutely. Drew, what do you say here? I hope the characters don't take away from what's special about Mando. Yeah, amen, brother. I am 100% behind you on that. I think the fear with many of us, and me included, is that they're introducing too many known characters to this universe that was, or this series that's special for being new. And again, I just absolutely love the gallery, that docu-series about the season 1, and where they took these kind of small featured characters that might have some cameo in some movie, and then expand them into a major. Even IG-11 to some degree was that, and then a lot of the other characters you see show up were just background figures in some movie or other work, and then they brought them out to be major. So I think the danger is minimizing Din Djarin's role and making it too much about other stuff. I hope that we continue to see Din Djarin focused, that it's centric to his story and the journey with the child. Again, we talked about Paper Moon, and how Jon Favreau came out and said that was the inspiration and the storyline. And that was after season 2 was already filmed and they were doing post-production. So Paper Moon is still yet the kind of storyline that I have in my mind for where season 2 is going, and perhaps the series as a whole that focuses on Din Djarin and the child. So I think that's absolutely there. Drew, again, what do we have here? As social media grows, they can save on marketing streams. Yeah, as not only social media, and that's absolutely true. Social media is a primarily free platform. I'm sure that they pay to get promotional out, right? You can pay. I have a business page for my Santa Claus things, and I constantly get these promotions from Facebook saying, "Hey, we'll give you a $5 credit or a $30 credit to promote this post and to get your business out there." So I'm sure that they're putting some money into that, and plus their staffing, and so there's some cost. But as far as like the marketing itself, it's a free delivery platform as a base. And then again, they're probably paying some promotional fees on top of that. But yeah, well, all your brother's crappy figures. So not sure what that's all about there, Will, but I may have missed something. So yeah, you guys, some great information on these. I'm not sure what you think of these tweets. We've had some good discussion. I'm going to go ahead and take that down, and we can get rid of the spoiler warning here, and we're out of that. If we come back to it, I'll put it back up. So again, last night I was listening to the Nerd Theory, and there's still a lot of sequel bashing going on in there, and I got it. It just made me go back to when I was younger, as an adult in the U.S. Army, when the prequels came out. I remember coming out of the Phantom Menace happy. I was primarily happy with that movie. Not so much with Attack of the Clones. The droid scenes were terrible in the droid factory. The CGI was terrible. I didn't like the storyline. C-3PO's head getting swapped out with a battle droid. All that was ridiculous. I hated that whole sequence. I thought it was unnecessary and should have just been cut. Right? Somebody should have said, "No, this is trash," and got rid of it. A little bit of drama there with Padme being in one of those pots and maybe have molten metal put on her, and Anakin, of course, getting his hand clamped down to the belt. All of that was fine. Not great, but fine. There's the CGI with R2 and C-3PO, especially 3PO, was terrible, and it doesn't hold up. It was very bad at the time, and it's bad now. And then, of course, Revenge of the Sith. That was fine too. When I came out of the theaters with those movies, I was very positive. And over time, what happens is people start pointing out little things here and there. And let's see, I got some comments here. I think there we go. Yeah, I'm just catching it. Okay, I see. So through that, then people start talking about it. Flaws in the movie that maybe didn't stick out to you start to get picked up and then picked apart, and then accented and focused on, and then blown up. And then over time, those small flaws that maybe you overlooked at first become bigger and bigger. They become a festering issue for you, much like having a grain of sand in your shoe, right? When you first start walking, it's just a grain of sand. But if you keep that in there for over time, it becomes an irritant, and you can walk with a limp just from a grain of sand. So those kind of things can get under your skin and cause irritation. And over time, my enthusiasm for the prequel trilogy diminished greatly, to a point where even today, I still largely dislike most of the content in those. I am a much bigger fan of the Clone Wars animated series than the prequel series. That's fine. And I get that that's exactly what's happening now with the sequels. That when people came out of those movies, the enthusiasm was fine, but then the people start picking apart little flaws here or there, or plot holes, or whatever they want to call it, right? Things that they disliked, and as they start picking at those threads, they start to unravel it, and then all of a sudden they've got these giant holes that they can't reconcile, that irritate them, they become an annoyance, and then their enthusiasm and support for those movies diminish. And that's exactly what happened to Josh. That's exactly what happened to Theory. And that's where they are now. And I get it. That's fine. For me, I still love the sequels. And I know they said one time, at what point last night, that sequel fans are actually, and Josh said this, sequel fans are actually in a minority, and a quite significant minority. And that's fine by me. It's fine that I'm in a minority. If that's the case, I think the overall public isn't nearly as critical with the sequels as the fandom itself is, much like with the prequels. The fandom itself was really upset. And again, I'll bring up the documentary, The People versus George Lucas. That represented the fandom following the prequels fairly accurately. There's a big segment of the fandom that just were livid with George. I still haven't forgiven him, and that's fine for me. But other people, they grew up with those. They have a special place. And the story in the prequels makes more sense to them. It feels more Star Wars to them. I hear this comment all the time. The sequels don't feel like Star Wars to me. I'm like, well, they feel like Star Wars to me. And the key word in there is feel, right? And then people start to say, well, it breaks this lore, it breaks that lore, it causes this problem, it takes me out of the universe. That's all fine. That is all absolutely fine, and I get it. That's if that's where you are, then hey, we're still friends. I have no issue with any of that. But it's just that for those of us who are still uh, fans of the sequels, it's not that I don't see the flaws or I haven't discussed them. I don't have debates with people about them. It's just that they don't impact me the same way they do a lot of other people, and that's okay. That's okay. And so I'm fine being in a minority now. I think over time we'll see, just as we've seen with the prequels, and I know I'm not the first guy to come along and say this, but just as the prequels started and then they dipped, and then over time, as that audience grew in age, they've risen. I think the same thing is going to happen with the sequels. We saw the enthusiasm, let's say with The Force Awakens, right? It was very high, and then afterwards it dipped. And now people, after the sequel trilogy itself as a whole came out, it's kind of taken another dive. I think over time, as that audience grows in age, and as we get further and further distanced from the actual events themselves, people will soften up. Their dislike will moderate, just as mine has for the prequels. And they still may never become fans of the sequels, but their dislike will moderate. And then the new generation will come up as fans of it, and that's going to be the memories they have and the things that they love. And in addition to that, you're going to get a lot of lore expanded around it, right? They're going to get a lot of stories told around it that brace it up and support it and hold it in place, and people are going to eventually come to terms with it. So let's go back, get caught up, get back here. Will, Mandalorian's like a kid playing with all his brother's crappy stuff. Yeah, you're right. That's the quote. Good. Thanks for reminding me. Yeah, that's what Dave and Dave, this is Cowboy Dave compared to character roster. To his brother's crappy toys, because his brother had all the great toys and he just got them after they were broken, or they were the crappy ones that his brother didn't want to play with anymore. Yeah. Mark, the droid foundry sequence and 3PO head swap was cringe. No kidding. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And it's part where, because of that and some of the other things with C-3PO's just terrible CGI, I got taken out of it enough that the R2 rockets on his legs and letting him fly become a super annoyance to me too. And I still complain about that too. Drew, like Maul, they wasted Grievous. I would love to see him get his own series. Oh, Drew, a couple of things about that. And I was thinking about this last night. Well, after The Phantom Menace, there were a lot of people who were really, really mad that they had this great character, Maul, and they wasted him. They killed him right off, that he could have been the bad guy. And this was the narrative that happened at the time. They took out the bad guy, the guy that was going to be the villain. He's a perfect villain. Why didn't they let him be that nemesis, right? And keep him through the trilogy. And I think a lot of that is what kind of built into the Clone Wars when they brought him back to life, and showed him with these artificial legs. And then, of course, he gets central to the story in season 7. So, and then, of course, he continues on into Rebels, and his fight with Obi-Wan continue on. But people were really disappointed by it. And there's a lot of people now, because of the news that came out about Snoke, saying, well, he was set up to be the perfect villain, and then they cut it, they cut him in half. The same thing happened to Maul. And with Maul, it happened in the first story. And I compare Grievous all the time too. Grievous in the Clone Wars is a chump, right? He's always running. Like, they give him fights, he always gets beat. He always runs away. It's cyclical. It's predictable. You could say, okay, he's going to get beat and he's going to run away and survive. It happens time and time again. The only thing that breaks it is when he gets shot. Obi-Wan shoots him and he's dead. Great. that's the end of Grievous. He's terribly misused in the prequel trilogy. His character's a waste, actually. If you would take out Grievous, focus more on Dooku, you could make Dooku's character richer, better, and improve the prequels just simply by removal. Removing Grievous from the prequels makes him a better movie because you can focus more on Dooku and making him a more prominent figure and more of a nemesis and more involved with the running of things. And he becomes then a better tool of Palpatine because he is that guy rather than having it split between Grievous and Dooku. To me, I think that's a lot better. Yeah, Grievous had some great Clone Wars episodes. Yeah, they were good, but again, it becomes predictable. Drew, I feel the prequel series was just an overall waste of opportunity. You know, people are saying the exact same words about the sequels now, and that, you know, I get it, and I agree with you, Drew. I think they were a wasted opportunity, and it's the mistake of letting Lucas do those things unfiltered. And a lot of people say, well, that was the problem you had with the sequels in letting Rian Johnson do his unfiltered and giving even J.J. Abrams the reins that he had. So people complain about this. So again, I understand. I've been through this before. This is so much replay of the prequels. It's uncanny. And I know not everybody here are fans, but oh shoot, I just lost his name. No, all I can think of right now is C-3PO, and that's not it. Hold on one second. I'll go here and I've got it right here. Hello, Greedo. Hello, Greedo. He keeps going back and finding these articles back from the prequel era and even from the original trilogy era and playing them and showing how much the exact same arguments have been made from the original and the prequels and now the sequels. Nothing is new in the fandom from that perspective. And I know people love to say nobody hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans, and there's nobody worse than Star Wars fans. I'll take some issue with that because I have met some of the best people, most supportive people within the Star Wars fandom, and many of you are here, and there are others that have been absolutely fantastic to me, even though we don't agree on everything. Drew, I loved Adam Driver. Had small fist pump moments through the rest. The Last Jedi could have been great, but fell short. Sloppy writing, even it's wasted. I feel it's good seeing him. Most people can agree that Mark Hamill's performance in The Last Jedi, whether you care for what they did with Luke Skywalker and his character, they feel like Mark Hamill's acting and his performance in The Last Jedi was superb. Now, some people are so tied up on the Luke Skywalker's character, they can't acknowledge that. But Mark Hamill was a bright spot for The Last Jedi, whether you liked it or disliked it. Callisto, I don't think sequel fans are as much as minority as many people believe. I think we just don't hear from them because they're afraid to admit they like them. Oh, that's somewhat true, Callisto. Whenever you're on the, you're getting a lot of hate and anger aimed at you. What it'll do is it'll turn you inside. You see that with the last election, and we might see it again with this one with people who support Donald Trump. The Trump supporters get yelled at and screamed at and put down. And so what they do is they just lock up. And where you think that there's a huge lead with his opponent, be that with Hillary Clinton or with Joe Biden, all of a sudden that lead erodes when you find out that they were just forced into silence. They weren't, and that's why you talk about a silent majority. I don't know that that exists, and I think it's overblown. But at the same time, I've seen it. I've been recipient of it, and certainly aware of it. And it's just not worth the fight sometimes. And the other part of that is that these fans aren't yet of age to be able to voice their opinions. Some of the college age folks are doing great jobs of it right now. They're doing fantastic jobs of defending these movies. They're the ones that they saw in theaters first, and they love them, and they're doing a pretty good job of defending it. Over time, they're arguing to get stronger, and there'll be a bigger group of them. So there you go. Will, I feel prequels were ahead of their time. I feel sequels are playing catch up. To some degree, I agree with you, Will. One thing that really George Lucas pushed was revolutionizing technology. Right? With the original trilogy, the bar wasn't just raised; it was set at a completely different level. He changed things with ILM. The entire thing just was transformed overnight with Star Wars. That movie blew people's minds. It blew my mind. I was 10 years old and sitting in the theater, and it just blew my mind. And it stood up over time. With the prequels, he tried to do that again with technology. Now, everything around Jar Jar and the CGI, he was pushing the envelope. It doesn't stand up as well over time because the CGI has surpassed it. But he was pushing to get out in front. And then what we see now, and I think a lot of people appreciate, is The Mandalorian has done the same thing. Mandalorian with the volume, that technology, that's the first time it was put together that way. And they don't want to give Kathleen Kennedy credit for greenlighting that. Jon Favreau really is the mastermind behind it. He's the guy who put the pieces together from his work on The Lion King and Jungle Book and other projects coming along. Jon Favreau deserves the credit for developing that. But here he's pushed that whole technology forward, and it's a whole nother level. And I think that the volume is transformative to the film making industry, and it's going to change the way we see movies across all the producing, right? All of the different filmmakers are going to start using that technology. It's going to get cheaper and cheaper and better, and it's going to be fantastic. Mark, I can't speak for theory, but from what I can gather, he cracked on the sequel trilogy after Daisy revealed there basically no pre-planned story arc for Rey. Yeah, I think that broke a lot of people. Not only theory, but that's as much as what Josh had said, and executive producer Al Schuler at the Den of Nerds. It broke them, even though they were becoming critical of it, and they had their criticisms of it. When they saw that interview with Daisy, it broke them, and then their overall enjoyment for the entire trilogy collapsed on the weight of that. So yeah, I follow you. Freeman. Personally, I can't forgive them for not having a story mapped out for the sequels. They didn't respect the lore and property enough. The actors are the ones who ended up paying for it. You're largely correct, Freeman, and I understand. There's not a history. I've talked about this in some detail. The culture at Lucasfilm never had, in the Lucasfilm story group, never had the discipline of having these things fleshed out, because everything was fleshed from George's mind. And when Disney bought Lucasfilm, certainly Disney had a culture of its own, but Lucasfilm also did. And if you've ever been a member of a company that's bought out by another company, the culture of the company that was acquired is eventually replaced by the company that acquired it to the most degree, to a large part. Sometimes you can have some influence, but when Disney purchased Lucasfilm and then they put the pressure on them to generate these movies, Lucasfilm didn't have a culture of really fleshing out stories, because Lucas made it up as he went. He saw that with the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, where he changed the story as the story went. The example I always use is Leia and, of course, Anakin. In A New Hope, Anakin was not Luke's father, and Leia was not Luke's sister. In Empire Strikes Back, they changed the story. Now Anakin is Luke's father. That happened during the rewrites. Leia still was not his sister. It wasn't until Return of the Jedi that they rewrote the story again to make Leia his sister. So that same kind of thing existed within Lucasfilm, and it became part of the culture of Lucasfilm that they adapted the story as they went. And when they took on the sequels, it's not an excuse, it's an explanation. I think that they should have done a better job of fleshing it out too. But I don't think that it was part of the culture of Lucasfilm Story Group to do that. And we're just now seeing where, like, Favreau's coming in and Filoni, and this term, the Filoniverse, is having the influence on Lucasfilm that they didn't have before. And that's why those guys are getting the credit they're getting, rightfully so. And it's why I think that we've seen Lucasfilm learn their lesson, and Disney is having an influence on Lucasfilm Story Group, saying, hey, guys, get your act together. And to that point, you'll also see some people who have left Lucasfilm say that the culture of Lucasfilm was changing because of the purchase of Disney, and they didn't like it. And that's just more evidence that says, hey, the culture at Lucasfilm didn't have all these things worked out. And with George selling it, it's not like it just happens overnight. And you remember Kathleen Kennedy was put in place. She didn't bring that culture in either. And so you could, again, I'm critical of Kathleen. I'm not the huge Kathleen Kennedy basher, but I think she has some accountability that she's not been held to. And one of the things is that story should have been, they should have come in and said, hey, you guys, you need to have this fleshed out more, and not let them run with it like they did the previous works. So I think all that's very fair. But there's a bigger story that's typically not being told. Sir Nerdlot, sequel trilogy, search for more money. Oh, very true. Very true. It's unfortunate Disney was rushed to a return on a $4.5 billion investment. Exactly. And that's what I just said. Like, the culture wasn't there to have a fully fleshed out story ahead of time. Kathleen Kennedy didn't enforce it. She didn't influence it. I heard last night, Josh came up with the idea of Rian Johnson being Rasputin, where he came in and he was so enamored, like Kathleen was so enamored with him that she gave him more power. And that's what happened. Rasputin was the Tsar of Russia, became so enamored with him, he gave Rasputin too much power. Eventually, Rasputin was murdered, but because the people turned against him. And the same sort of thing happened with Rian Johnson, right? He was given too much power, and with that power, he wasn't given the same kind of controls, because Lucasfilm just simply didn't have that culture in place to do that. What is very, very optimistic, and again, it comes from watching the gallery, you can see that they learned their lessons, and what they have now is a much more fleshed out storyline that then the directors are given. Here's your storyline. They're given flexibility to tell the story within that line, and they certainly are given the artistic freedom to be problem solvers and how they set up the shots and all of that. They're given that artistic freedom as directors, but the storyline is far more fleshed out. And you also saw it with Project Luminous in the High Republic storylines. Those things, they were sequestered together and fleshed out those stories far better than they did with the sequel trilogy. So if there's a bright light at all, a candle of hope, the glass half full for the folks that absolutely despise what happened with the sequels, it's in that it became a fantastic lesson. Was it an opportunity missed? I think so, for the fandom. As a sequel trilogy supporter, somebody who loves those movies, I can acknowledge that they dropped the ball, because you fractured the fandom because of your missteps. But I think the future with Disney Plus, the story group has learned its lesson. Disney culture is beginning to infiltrate into Lucasfilm for better and worse, and we have a future ahead of us to look forward to. So, hey folks, it's 1:00 Eastern. John Campea is going to be coming on talking about the Disney thing, and again, huge thanks today to Adam at Fanjacture. He gave us all today's content pretty much, between the Disney stuff, these leaks that John Campea shared. Thanks so much, Adam. I appreciate it. And thanks to all of you for being here, for your support. You mean the world to me. I love being on here and talking about Star Wars, and you guys have become my regulars, and I truly appreciate each and every one of you for being here. Thanks so much. Hope you have a fantastic and blessed day. And until we see you next time, Merry Christmas, everybody. Bye-bye.